Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, and we are today going to once again learn how to destroy the grip of the psychopathic elites on our planet by engaging in interdimensional revolution. And in this video, I said that I was going to tell you the one thing that psychopaths use to accomplish their complete control over the earth. So last time we talked, and I'll refresh your memory because I think it's very important, the 5 fingers of the hand that are grasping the collective consciousness of our planet, the 5 fingers of the hand that are used by the deep state psychopathic elites. Those 5 fingers are: number 1, religion, which includes mainstream narrative. The new religion of today is the mainstream narrative. Number 2, the government, which includes armies and law enforcement. Now, I think law enforcement is a good thing, don't get me wrong, but when the government hijacks law enforcement for less than savory ideals, it's a problem. So the second finger is the army, government, law enforcement. Number 3 is the banks. They have complete control of your resources. You know, there was a time when people could get their needs met from their immediate surroundings. That's not the case anymore. In fact, try and do that. Try and live in such a way where you get all of your needs met. You know, you can get your clothes from your surroundings, you can get your food, you can get your shelter. Try and do that now. The world we live in is set up to prevent you from doing that. So now the only way that you can get your needs met through resources is if you use the money, which is, of course, is tied up in the banking system. So that's the 3rd finger that they use. The 4th finger that they use is, I know the last one is media. What was the 4th one? Oh, I got it written down here. Sorry, this has been a very intense day, and so I'm a little bit loopy because I've been doing a lot of meditation. So religion, government, banks, medicine. How could I forget that? Freudian slip. Big pharma. And then the 4th one, the thumb. The thumb is what gives you all of the strength to be able to hold and manipulate and control, to really have control over our planet, the media, information. You control all 5 of these things: the narrative, government, resources, medicine, and information. And when you have all 5 of those things, you have the ability to control the entire consciousness of the planet. So those are the 5 fingers, but the 5 fingers are connected to one hand. And the hand, and this is bad metaphors, but the hand is only doing one thing. Might do 5 little different things, but it's accomplishing one goal. And the one goal of the deep state, the cabal, the elites, the Illuminati, I don't care, use whatever words you want. The one goal is to devalue you. What do I mean by devaluation? It's a really great term, and it's a term that I learned as I was healing from getting out of an extremely destructive narcissistic relationship, which almost destroyed me completely. Here I am at that time. This was, 2, 3 years ago. And here I am, this spiritual teacher, and I've been in 12-step recovery, I've been in therapy, I've been a meditator, spiritual practitioner for decades. And I get floored by this, this person with a serious mental illness, which was a form of narcissism. And I learned this really great term called devaluation. What I came to find out is that that was the fundamental strategy that narcissistic abusers use to keep you and control you. And maybe you've heard of things like trauma bonding and other things like that. But the main tool that is used is to devalue you. And from that, what we find out is that whenever somebody devalues you, it can be subtle, by the way. Codependents, people who are people pleasers, people who go around trying to please others, which many people mistakenly think is the opposite of a narcissist. Because a narcissist says, give me what I want, give me all the attention. And the people pleaser supposedly says, oh, I'm just here to give, I'm just a helper, I love you. I'm just here to take care of you. But the bottom line of both of those extremes on that spectrum is devaluation. And on one side, you have somebody who is devaluing the other person, literally taking their value away from them so that they do not feel that they are lovable. They do not feel that they deserve to exist. And then the person on the other side of that seeks to be devalued. Because if they're devalued, then they can earn their love. So if the abuser says you're no good for whatever reason, for instance, you're too fat, you're not good looking enough. Well, now you've devalued that person because of some superficial physical thing. And so the person then has to go, like if the Nexium cult, those women were devalued continuously based on how they looked. And so they had to learn to go and, starve themselves. And then they gained value in Keith Raniere's eyes. They now had value because they had, at least for a short period of time, they had reached the weight that he found desirable. So for those people who are the supposed victims, they seek to be devalued because then it gives them an opportunity to earn their love. And on both sides, the basic fundamental understanding is that you do not have the worth to exist simply because you're alive. And so anything that tells you that you can become more valuable based on something external, what you do, how you look, etc. And this is how our society functions. Our entire world functions on being devalued. What do we value? We value people who are famous. They gain their value based on their fame. We value people who have certain external looks. People who look a certain way, depending on what the trend is. We then give them value. Whatever. Somebody has money. Money gives them value, gives them worth. Whatever it is. And all of these things take away from the inherent value of the individual. And the inherent value of the individual comes from one thing and one thing only. And that is that you are conscious, that you exist, that you are aware. And that value of being aware is something that comes from someplace completely differently than this three-dimensional physical world. Your consciousness is not in your brain. Science has been trying to find exactly how the brain creates consciousness, and they come to the conclusion every time that consciousness is not in the brain. Consciousness is from your soul. Your soul is where you derive your value. And there is literally nothing you can do. Nothing you can do, nothing you can achieve, nothing that you can become that will give you any more value, any more lovability, any more relevance than what you came here with. If you are a human being and you woke up out of the womb of your mother and you have consciousness and awareness, you are as valuable as you can possibly be. You cannot become any more lovable or any more valuable. But you can be hypnotized into believing that you're unvaluable. And this is what happens in dysfunctional homes. No, by the way, no mother is perfect, unfortunately. But this is what happens. Ideally, when you are born, the mother looks at the infant and thinks to herself, I want to know this being. I want to know what makes this being individual. I want to know why this being is the most perfect being and is different from every other being that has ever existed or ever will exist. I want to know the unique qualities, the unique personality. And so that's why, when parents, babies are first born, they always say, it's perfect. Oh my God, he's perfect. She's perfect. In that moment, they're in that state where our evolution is working the way it's supposed to. You're supposed to see your child as being a perfect, unique being that cannot be improved. Now, the question is, as you go through life, are you able to continue to give that experience to the child? At some point, parents screw up. At some point, they give the child the feeling that in order to be lovable, they have to do something. They have to be something. And if, to make things worse, we live in a society that is overtly telling you, you have to be something. You have to have the right job. You have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to have money. You have to be part of the collective. The thing now is, it used to be being an individual. You had to be an individual. You had to go make your mark in the world. You had to make money, etc., etc. Now, the way to get your value is to be part of the collective. That's what this whole woke thing is about. It presents itself as, no, we love everybody equally, and that's not at all what's happening with the whole woke thing. The whole woke thing is, no, you have to be part of the collective and you have to get rid of your identity. This is what happened during the pandemic. You had to give up your freedoms, which I can't talk about. You had to give up your freedoms in order for the collective good of others. Even Arnold famously said, screw your freedom, talking about the pandemic. So you have to give up your freedom, your individuality in order to be part of the collective. And that is what you do in order to be loved, and accepted. And if you have been devalued, as every single human on this planet has been, religion does that. You've heard me talk about that. Religion, in fact, that's what religion was about. And by religion, I mean, of course, the Abrahamic religions. The religions before that were very different. Indigenous polytheist religions are the exact opposite. They are about promoting your inherent unique value. That's the basis of all those religions. Taoism, Hinduism, Druidism, Nordic spirituality, Buddhism. These are all seeking to say the same thing in different ways. But I forgot what I was talking about. Religion says you have to die to yourself, meaning in a bad way. You have to die to your individuality because you are, in fact, it's the first thing you learn in religion is that you are sinful, which is just another way of saying you don't deserve to live, which is another way of saying your essence isn't enough. Sin is something you do. You commit a sin. You do an action which devalues you. And according to religion, it not only devalues you, it completely, totally invalidates you. So much so that you're not just worthy of destruction. That would be one thing. But the Christian religion doesn't just destroy you for being imperfect. It punishes you not for 100 years, not for 1,000 years, not for 10,000 years. It punishes you potentially for one mistake, which, invalidated you. That one thing that you did, you had a thought that went against the collective. You looked at somebody of the opposite sex or somebody that, you found sexually attractive and you had a lustful thought. And that would be enough. That would be enough to invalidate your existence and make you worthy of eternal punishment, which is torture. So being destroyed is one thing, but being tortured. So we were worshiping a God that tortured his own creations. You can't get more invalidated than that. And you can't also be told there's something you have to do. And so what happens? Jesus comes along, and what does he do? He has to do something to validate you again. You can't even do it. You can't even go and devalue yourself by doing or being something so you'll be lovable again. Somebody else has to devalue themselves. It was just the ultimate. Jesus died on the cross, was murdered for your invalidated action. And as a result of that, him devaluing himself like that, allowing himself to be devalued and tortured for no reason of his own, you now can be accepted. It's incredibly devaluing. The end result is you spend eternity in heaven going, I don't deserve to be here. I mean, is there anything more torturous than that? Your entire eternity will be spent with the knowledge of, I don't deserve to be here. I deserve to be punished forever. So this is our culture. This is the religion. This is, money. You can't just go and live off the land. It's almost impossible to do so. Because if you live off the land, what does that mean? It means that the earth herself says you have value. Go gather some fruits and some nuts and some legumes. Go get some grubs. Go fish. Go hunt. Get what you need out of my bounty. There you go. I mean, our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. They didn't go to work. They got up and they went and got what they needed. It was just growing right around them, everywhere they went. They didn't have to go to a store. They didn't have to buy anything. They didn't have to get a job. so that they could have the money to go get the stuff they need just to live. They didn't have to do that. So all of these things in our society is devaluing you. So what happens to somebody who has been devalued? And you have all been devalued, every single one of you, simply by living in the third dimension now and living in the grip of the psychopathic elite. They have a grip on your consciousness. You can't even think straight. So what happens to somebody who has been devalued? What happens to somebody who believes that their survival depends on earning their value? Because that's what it comes down to. We have all been taught that in order to gain our value, there's something we have to do. We don't deserve it in and of ourselves. We have to do something or be something in order to have that. What ends up happening is then your natural instinct for self-preservation gets wrapped up in being devalued. So what is it that you do? You seek to be devalued. This is why relationships are so problematic. This is why people get divorced, so quickly. I mean, it just basically happens to almost everybody. They get divorced. They get divorced because people get together based on being devalued. You meet somebody and they say, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen." And you go, "Oh my God, he really loves me. He called me beautiful." Well, does that mean he loves you, or does that mean he's objectifying you or she's objectifying you? "Oh my God, you're so successful." It could be the other way around. It's not, it doesn't have to be men say this and women say that. Point is, loving somebody for their looks, loving somebody for their success is devaluing, because you're loving them for something that has nothing to do with who they are. It has something to do with what they do, or something that's external or outside of their soul. You could love somebody because they're a great cook. You could love somebody because they nurture you and mother you. You could love somebody because they father you. Either way, you seek to be devalued, because that's where you find your worth. And what we want is we want to feel valuable. And we've been taught that our value comes from something outside of us. So we seek to be devalued. And our instinct tells us that our survival is based on that. Now, what humans want more than anything is to be loved. And I'll prove it to you. You've probably heard me share this before, but if not, listen up. This is really eye-opening. There have been numerous experiments throughout time, including going back into the Middle Ages, where I don't know who it was. It was an English king, and he had heard somewhere that Hebrew was the original language that human beings, if just left alone, they would just automatically speak Hebrew, because that was the language of the Old Testament. So in order to prove that, he found a bunch of orphans, and he found a bunch of nuns, and he put the orphans, by the way, were infants. They were newborns, newborn infant orphans, and a bunch of nuns, and put them on an island. So they were totally isolated. And being the king, he made sure that nothing and nobody came onto that island except for the nuns. The nuns would go and bring back whatever resources they needed, and would be given to them by the king. And the king gave the nuns very specific instructions. On pain of death, the nuns were not allowed to interact with the infants except for to keep them warm, keep them fed, wipe their butts. That's it. They couldn't speak one word to the children. They couldn't hold the children, interact with them in any way. And this narcissistic king thought, well, then the kids are going to grow up and they'll start speaking some language, and we'll find out which one is the true spiritual language. But instead, what happened is that every single one of those infants died. And it wasn't because they were cold or they weren't fed or that they didn't have milk. They probably had milk and stuff like that. They had everything they physically needed, but they didn't have any interaction with humans. They weren't loved. And because they weren't loved, they died. So the point of that is, every single human at the deepest essence of themselves, what they want more than anything, what they need to survive more than anything, is the idea that they are loved. And so we will defend. We will defend and fight and get violent to defend whatever it is we think will bring us love. People who ride, sorry if you ride a Harley. But, this is what I see. Whenever I see people riding Harleys that are 100 times louder than they need to be in order to, avoid getting, struck by other vehicles. This is somebody who, if they don't feel that they exist, they'll stop existing. That is love to them. Tough guys. They got beat up by their tough, abusive father, so they think in order to get dad's approval, I got to go beat people up. Codependents who learn to be doormats. Those same abusive fathers maybe say to their daughters, go get me a beer. Oh, you're a good girl. As long as you meet my needs and don't upset me. Or as long as you come in if I'm getting upset and meet my needs, then you have value to me. You only have value to me if you give me something. Now, that person will fight to hold on to that method of gaining love, if that's what they think it is. Doing something to get loved. Being something to get loved. So when something comes along, when some force comes along, when some person comes along and loves you unconditionally for who you are in a non-codependent way, you will hate them. You will hate them and you will fear them. The greatest example of this is the mental illness borderline personality disorder. That's an extreme version of the human experience of being devalued and wanting to be loved. And what happens with borderlines is that they crave intimacy. And they will go out of their way to find and create intimacy with people, especially romantic intimacy. But once they get it, they then, in a heartbeat, will shift. And in many cases, will go from literally within seconds telling you are the most perfect person in the world to, I hate you, get out of my face, attacking you, throwing things at you, slashing your tires. They become completely, totally paranoid and violent. And what they believe in that moment is that you're trying to kill them. And the reason they feel like you're trying to kill them, when in reality you just gave them like a birthday present, for example. You did something that made them have this feeling of being loved simply because they exist. And what did that do? That made them furious because in their minds, they have to do something to be loved. And you just took away their only means of surviving because now they can't earn their love. If you give it to them, you must be trying to get something from me. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to screw with my head. I know exactly. I'm not. And then they'll literally get violent sometimes, physically violent. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer was a borderline. He'd fall in love with people, take them back to their house, and when there was a connection, as soon as they turned around to leave, he'd kill them because he didn't want them to leave. But he couldn't tolerate the idea of them loving him for who they were, so they had to be a dead body in order for him to feel like he could have a relationship with them. That's an extreme example, but that's what human beings are. I'm leading up to something here. What I'm leading up to. In order for us to leave the third dimension, which is what we are at a place where human beings have to move beyond the third dimension. We have to evolve, literally evolve physically, spiritually, mentally, psychologically, our DNA, our cells of our body. We have to shift up to another level, or we will go the way of the dodo. The third dimension has reached the end of its usefulness to the universe's exploration of consciousness. The universe has learned everything it can learn from three-dimensional consciousness, and now it's time to move out of that. And in order to do that, human beings have to allow themselves to be loved by the universe unconditionally. Everybody thinks they want that. Talk to any Christian, they'll tell you that Jesus loves me. Really? That's why he had to be devalued and tortured on your behalf because you're sinful. That's love? That's not love. That's devaluation. Jesus devalued you when he supposedly sacrificed himself on the cross. He devalued you. He said, you're worthless. And not only are you worthless and you can't redeem yourself, let me do it for you, you worthless piece of crap. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. You were totally devalued by him. To be loved unconditionally means that no matter where you are, no matter what you are, the universe comes to you and says, I see in you an infinite soul that is beyond value. You have an infinite soul, which is an infinite expression of the consciousness of the universe, of which there is nothing superior. You are the most superior being in existence simply because you are a soul. I love you unconditionally. You need not do or be anything except you must let me love you. When that happens, a human being is going to go into paranoid delusion. They will become paranoid. They will believe that the universe is trying to destroy them. They will think the universe is an evil reptilian demon trying to eat their souls. Because the experience of being completely, totally loved without having to do anything is totally alien to the three-dimensional human existence. Totally alien. And so, we must, in order to evolve beyond that limitation, we must learn to be completely seen and loved by the universe. And when that happens, we will go through a death. We will go through the same death that Odin went through. Unlike Jesus, who sacrificed himself for you, you worthless piece of garbage, Odin sacrificed himself to himself. He sacrificed that devalued part of him to the infinite part of him inside of him. And he died to the limited part of him that said, I have to do something, I have to be something in order to have value. And as a result of dying to that, the mysteries of the universe, which we call the runes, revealed themselves to him. And then it says, screaming, he took them up. Meaning it was not an easy thing. It was painful, frightening. There was a moment there when Odin died to his limited self that said, I need to do something or be something to be loved. There was that point then that the love of the universe, which he experienced as the mysteries of the universe, came to him. And he wanted to fight against it. And he pushed past that 3D codependent narcissistic desire to destroy the runes. His first instinct, he wanted to destroy the runes and run away from them. But he did the opposite. Screaming, he picked them up. They were frightening to him. And then as a result of that, he became king of the gods. He was not king of the gods before he sacrificed himself to himself. He became king of the gods after that. And if you believe anything, any truth to the mythology around this, we know that historically, Odin was not a god that was worshipped by any Indo-European people until a certain point in history. So if there really was a being, if you want to believe he was a person or an entity or whatever it was, at some point that entity achieved full self-awareness, meaning they became aware. There's nothing I need to do in order to be loved by the universe. And that awareness brought out the runes, the mysteries of the universe were then right there for him to see. There's a story that I've heard from somebody, which I believe, and it's beautiful. It's a story of a woman who, I've shared this a few times as well. There's a video, if I had a link, I'd give it to you. But it's a woman who was riddled with cancer, like tumors everywhere throughout her body. Like this, she was on her deathbed, filled with cancer, filled with drugs, and everybody was gathered around waiting for her to die. And she died. She died and her soul left her body and she went up to heaven, whatever that meant to her. But what she noticed, as soon as she was out of her body, I want you to remember this, as soon as her soul was out of her 3D body, remember that I said that. As soon as her soul was out of her 3D body, she became aware that she was surrounded by this loving universe, and she could feel the energy, the love of this universe permeating through her. And she realized that her whole life had been trying to do things to earn her love. And she realized in that moment that the only thing I have to do to be loved is just simply exist. And that was this beautiful, she was now gone from earthly life, and she was filled with this knowledge of self-awareness. She had that state of Odin where she knew her value. She was connected to the universe, connected to the runes, the mysteries of life. And she had some other experiences. She met with, I believe it was her father, somebody, and they said, you have to go back. So she went back into her body. And of course, everybody thought she was dead. The doctors, she was dead for long enough time. Everybody thought she was dead. And she came back in her body and, of course, was alive again. And then she told her doctors, I believe, if I remember the story correctly, that she was going to be cured of cancer. And sure enough, as time went on, all of these tumors, which were impossible to get rid of, just shrunk and vanished, and they were gone. And she knew it was going to happen. She knew that her cancer was the direct result of her feeling that she needed to do something to get people's approval. And when she knew that that there was nothing more that she could do to be loved and to be valuable, which included other people's opinions, whether you like me, you don't like me, you love me, you don't love me, you know, it doesn't matter. I know that I am completely lovable and valuable simply because I exist, and the universe knows it and I know it, and that's all that matters. I don't need anything outside of me to validate me or to make me feel loved. And this is what's coming for planet Earth. Planet Earth is going to finally be bathed in a huge amount of unconditional love, which people will not be able to push away. So there are a couple extreme ways that people can respond to being loved unconditionally. If you are self-empowered, if you are individuated, if you actually, not just intellectually, but actually emotionally and spiritually and psychologically have this experience of, I do love myself and the universe loves me and there's nothing anybody else can say or do. I see myself in everybody. And, if you're in that space, the love is going to hit you. It's going to be this blissful, orgasmic experience of, yeah, I knew that was the case. And it's just going to be more of the same. The other extreme, when you are hit with a massive amount of undeniable, unconditional, spiritual love, you will respond with negative feelings. You will panic. You will be filled with fear. You will be filled with rage. You will be filled with confusion. You will physically not feel well. You perhaps will get nervous, or you'll want to go and sleep all day, or you'll get a headache, or something like that, because in some way you will fight against that thing which is taking away your perceived need to be devalued. Let me repeat myself. When you are completely loved by the universe, if you live in a way where you need to be devalued in order to feel loved, when you are loved unconditionally and you cannot escape it, then you will react negatively and violently to not being able to devalue yourself. This is why when people say, when the solar flash hits, that some people will make it, some people won't, some people will leave their body. I would not be surprised at all if the solar flash was huge, like really, really powerful. I can imagine it knocking people flat on their ass and them going into convulsions, because their whole body would be fighting that. When I had my most recent initiation experience with the, I believe it is a mantis ET, who now is my very good friend. As you know, I went through a huge physical reaction. I mean, my whole right side of my body, froze up. I couldn't even lift my right arm for weeks. I had this thing that I found out is a real thing called frozen shoulder, which normally takes 2 to 3 years to heal. And thankfully, I was able to get myself back into shape. I was back to normal in 2 to 3 weeks. But anyway, that's another story. But I remember when I was in the presence of a being who was exuding unconditional love beyond what I could mentally resist, I started to fall apart emotionally, and then physically. Physically, I started to fall apart for a few weeks after that. I couldn't function. You remember, I was saying I can't do any videos for a while. I just need to. I couldn't function, and it wasn't because anything negative happened to me. It's because I was in the presence of a being whose love was so powerful that I couldn't resist it. I couldn't tune it out. And one of the first things that happened was I went through all kinds of devaluation feelings. The first one is that I felt unworthy. And every time I tried to connect with beings of light, I went through this feeling of I'm not worthy. That then turned into just panic and fear, confusion. But then there came a point where I became paranoid. And I thought, these are evil beings. They're evil demons that are trying to deceive me. They're coming to destroy the world. I went through a period. I didn't talk about it because I knew it was nuts. But it doesn't change the fact that I was feeling it. Because I've worked through my own devaluation issues, I knew that I was having a devaluation crisis. And so instead of acting on it and going on to YouTube and making movies about how extraterrestrials will implant into your chakras and then turn you into a meat puppet or something, instead of doing that, I continue to do my work and to meditate and to push through it and to allow myself to be seen and loved on a level deeper than I've ever experienced in my entire human existence. And it's continuing, by the way. As you know, I am in continuous daily communication with these beings, and the amount of valuation and love that is coming from them continues to expand, and it's still extremely challenging. And so in order to keep myself sane, literally sane, I accept everything that they tell me at face value, meaning they tell me something completely unbelievable about myself. I accept it. I say, I accept that. I expand to accept that. Thank you. And then I don't get emotionally attached to it. I just don't mess with it. I just accept it and I don't mess with it. And I just allow myself to continue to just live my life, and I don't make any decisions based around these incredibly grandiose things that I'm being told. And that is how I can shift and allow myself to receive this unconditional love from higher dimensions. What I am experiencing is going to be what the world will go through. I now understand what these beings were telling me. When they first started coming to me, they one day came to me and they said, "We're coming for you tomorrow." And I didn't know what that meant. But it meant that they showed up and I got downloaded a bunch of information about myself and reality. And then I went, oh, it doesn't mean they're going to abduct me. It means they're going to come and they're going to download some energy to me, download some awareness to me, give me some messages that I need to know. And then when I became aware of the whole solar flash thing, they came to me one day. I'm sitting right over there, lying on the couch, and they came in. Of course, I couldn't see them, but they came in the room and started, telepathically giving me energy and messages. And they were saying, "We're coming for you first," which meant for the solar flash. They said, "We're coming for you first. Don't be afraid. We're coming for you tomorrow. And I went, I have no idea what the heck that means. What does that mean? I thought I was going to get taken up in a spaceship. I was scared out of my mind. That's not what happened. What happened is that they showed up the next day and they put me in a state where they raised my vibration up to what people talk about being 5D, which is not actually 5D. It's sort of like in between 3D and 5D. And for the better part of a day, I walked around in this state of seeing everything and everybody and seeing myself and everything and seeing the life in the water and the plants and the sand and the rocks and the kids and the infants and the dogs and the birds and the sky. And I was just in a place of bliss. And at the same time, my physical human body was like, I don't understand what's happening here. I had to allow myself to be a part of it, because a part of me could have just decided to turn it off if I wanted to. Would have been a really difficult experience. I would have driven myself crazy. But as I said, I learned to just take everything at face value and don't think about it. And now I understand what they were saying. They were saying, we're going to give you a taste of that. We're coming for you first. Because they were going to teach me what it was. So now I know what's coming. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like I experienced. I don't know if I got a muted experience. I don't know if I got the full thing. I don't know yet. I know that there was a solar flash that came on the 2nd, which I shared with you. Some of you experienced it. Some of you, like me, had positive experiences. It was a little intense at first. You woke up at 7 a.m. Eastern time and you felt this energy and and things were good, right? For some of you, you had headaches, you were tired, you couldn't get out of bed, you were depressed. That means that you can't tolerate not being devalued. If you felt that flash and your response was to get headaches, get depressed, get sad, it means that there's a part of you that thinks you need to do something to be loved, and you're holding on to it, because if you let go of it, nobody will love you. What? You just took away my only tool to get people to love me. And you're going to go through all of the pain you should have gone through as a kid when you didn't get seen and loved. So that's why we should be doing this now. That's what this channel is for. Finally now, after this channel had been around for 10 or 15 years, finally we know what this channel is about. This channel is about you learning to experience the love of the universe and to find that there is nothing that you need to do to be valuable, and to see and become conscious of all the ways that you seek to be devalued. Victim mentality, rage, anger, violence, indulging in conspiracy theories. I didn't say there weren't conspiracies. I just don't indulge in them. I don't care. I don't care what the deep state is doing. The only part about it that I care is having to do with the mind games that are going to hypnotize people into being afraid of extraterrestrials. That's something else we talk about. That's the only thing that I have any real issue with when it comes to the deep state. Whatever else they do, I could care less. I don't worry about them. I don't base my life off of them. So that's the main thing that the psychopathic deep state wants to do to you, is they want you to continue to feel from birth that you must do something or you must be something externally in order to be accepted. And you will do anything. If that means being part of the club, if that means dieting until you die, if that means working your ass off in some job for 60 years so that you can have the money and say, I had a career and I did this. Oh, I'm not going to go waste my time on my hobbies. I have to go make a living. Or you're going to diet yourself down to be a model, or you're going to become an MMA superstar, or you're going to try and be the most famous actor in the world or the most famous musician. You're going to try and do something. You're going to change who knows what, your identity in all kinds of woke ways. You're going to change the pronouns by which people can address you. You're going to do something outside of yourself in order to get people to love you, to accept you. And you'll be filled with rage at anybody who doesn't allow you to do that. And you'll be filled with fear and with suspicion over people who love you unconditionally and love themselves unconditionally. Unless you do the work, and that's what this channel is about. Go up here to thunderwizard.com, scroll around until you get to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, press play on the videos, do the exercises. I guarantee you all this stuff will come to the surface. If you don't want to do that, then do the free stuff. Do the energy practices that we do. Do the Hool breath, awakening the immortals. But the one thing I think everybody, when you're ready to do it, I don't want you to do it if you're not comfortable. But when you feel comfortable, I believe everybody should do CE5. The letter C, the letter E, the number 5. Because that is the most powerful way to rebel against the entire third dimension devaluation scenario. When you break through the dimensional barrier, even if it means that you sit outside in your lawn chair and you mentally ask for extraterrestrials show up and some lights flicker around in the sky. Even if that's as far as it gets, you've poked through the dimensional barrier. Your mind has evolved and you've started a process. You'll begin to start seeing yourself differently, seeing things differently. Your reality may come apart like mine did. But bear in mind, our 3D reality is based on being devalued. What we think reality is being devalued, means being loved. Being devalued means having value, means having worth. That's what 3D reality is. And when you start to feel loved and valuable, simply because you exist, reality starts to change. What you thought was reality starts to come apart. And that's very frightening. Everybody should be doing CE5. So I won't, should I do a meditation? Should we do an interdimensional meditation? I'll let you put in the comment section. If enough people, not the comment section, in the live chat. If you want us to do an interdimensional meditation tonight, we can. But we'll just stick with that. All right. So I think I'm going to stop talking for the moment. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to look at them. If you have any feelings, I'm happy to share those as well. All right. So Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello, and you can tell, all the stuff that he does. He's one of my Vedic astrologers. Go to his website, Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Shintani with Paradise Unlimited, honest feeling, determined. Is determined a feeling? I took a few third steps back, a few 3D steps back. So I'm already seeing guilt. This isn't a religion. You don't have to be perfect. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about woke spirituality. This isn't about, let me go ahead and read it first before I go on that. I took a few 3D steps back to clear out some clutter from my house. I don't know what that means. While practicing energy, breath, and meditation work, my attitude was I could not be bothered with 3D. Okay, so I misunderstood you. So what you're saying is that you took some steps away from 3D to clean your house. So this isn't a feeling. You're telling us something that you did. Okay? I walked the dog. I'm happy for you. That's not what I want. When I want a feeling from you, I want to hear a vulnerable feeling. Determined is an attitude. It's not really a feeling. A feeling is I'm afraid, I'm happy, I'm scared, I'm full of bliss. Those are feelings. What you did, you don't realize it. But what you did was you tried to get us to value you based on what you did. What do they call that? They call that virtue signaling. You virtue signaled a little bit. You did a thunder wizard virtue signal. We don't need that from you. And you don't need that to be loved and accepted. But I'm happy to hear your feelings. Because a feeling doesn't have anything attached to it. I'm afraid. I'm happy. Do you get it? You're in the moment. You're just being, which is the reason why I ask people for their feelings, is because when you just have your feelings, that gives all of us an opportunity, and you yourself, to have value simply because you exist. Part of existing is experiencing feelings. Now, what we tend to do is we tend to take actions on feelings. We stuff them down. We act out on them. Taking actions on feelings is an important thing. But what I want to do is give you an opportunity to just have them. And then we get to be with you while you're experiencing a conscious experience. Happiness, sadness. Do you see how it lines up with what we're talking about today? There's nothing you need to do to be valuable except just exist. And we work so hard to stuff down our emotions because we're devalued. Okay? All right. What else? Agent of the universe. And also, by the way, I see that comment was there before I started. So it's also a good idea to not drop your comments, your questions or your feelings until after you've listened to my spiel. I know you're excited. You came on here and you wanted to say something. You wanted to share yourself. You had, hey, look at this, Dad. I know. I understand. Don't take it personally. I hope that didn't hurt your feelings. All right. What else? Thundra says hello. She is one of my Vedic astrologers. She has a website, Thundra, thundra.thunderwizard.com, and you can check out all the cool stuff she does. Agent of the Universe question. So, Agent of the Universe, you have a question. I'm just going to shorten it because I don't want to air your dirty laundry, but you say you want to know if your insecurities and your destructive actions will be destroyed when the solar flash hits. I don't know. But I want for you to think about things differently. The assumption in your question is that you don't have any power to change. Because you're saying, will this fix it? Will this make it go away? And that assumes that you don't have any power to change. It assumes that you don't have the ability to determine what actions you take. And you do have that power. I know enough about you to know, which I won't share publicly, but I know that you have a difficult, challenging situation that makes things difficult for you in some regards. So as difficult as it is, you, without the solar flash, you can decide to change. You can decide that when your pain comes up out of your insecurity, you can make the decision to stay conscious and take conscious action. This is what, I'm going to write it down here. It's probably the most valuable tool anybody can have, which is called contrary action. Contrary action means doing something that is completely opposite to your instincts. Your self-survival instincts when you are regressed and insecure is to act out in destructive ways towards people. If I'm reading that right. Yeah. So you can have those feelings. You can have the insecurities, the judgments, and you can choose to act contrary to that. This is why you in particular, I've told you numerous times, one of the greatest things you can do is every single day, do something kind for another person that they would enjoy, but don't let them know that you did it. Do that every single day. You'll do it when you're in a bad mood or when you're in a good mood. You'll discipline yourself to act constructively regardless of how you feel. And that's all that you're really asking me is, will you have the ability to act constructively regardless of how you feel? And will the solar flash give that to you? I don't know. I can tell you that when I was in that, that higher dimensional state, I had to choose to stay in it. I had to choose to invest in it. I had to choose to keep my attitude there and to have my actions be about that and to be aware of my thoughts and my feelings and my fears. And I had to stay conscious of the actions that I took, which would keep the state going. So maybe when the solar flash hits, it's just an opportunity for people to breathe and start acting differently. I don't know. But I don't want to get pushed in the corner that you want to push me into, which is, is something outside of me going to fix me, which is you've just devalued yourself, right? Because anything outside of you is not going to fix you. It's going to come from in here. My feeling is that it'll probably be a lot easier, but I don't think you'll be free of any negative, of all negative tendencies. You'll just have perhaps a little more comfort to act in a constructive way. Gragos, question. Why was everything the same old day for me during the flash? I don't know. What do you want me to say? Do you think that I know exactly what your scenario is, or is that a passive-aggressive question? Saying that, since it didn't work for you, it didn't really happen. Or is it a devaluing question? Like, what is wrong with me that I did? I don't know. As I said, I said that the flash that happened on the 2nd was a flash, wasn't the flash. And, I was already primed and ready for it. Some people, it's just another, there are people you put them in a happy scenario, they're not going to be happy. They might be clueless. They might be desensitized. I don't know you well enough to know why you didn't. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you. Agent of the Universe, honest feeling. Whenever I astrally... What just happened here? Whenever I astrally enter the sun, I feel intense energies within my physical body. Yes, so do I. Timothy says, yes, let's do a meditation. C says, I'm open. Well, thanks. Don't do me any favors. Do you want it or not? I'm open to it. I don't know. Was that my words? Are you open to a meditation? I don't know what I said. Sorry, I shouldn't be giving you such a hard time. You're saying yes, you want one. Agent of the Universe. Oh, I must have used that term because Agent of the Universe is repeating it. So my apologies. I must have said, let me know if you're open to a meditation. You see? I'm not perfect. You see? My insecurities kicked in. My habits kicked in. I didn't even remember that I had done that. So, Agent of the Universe, you're not going to be perfect just because of solar flash hits. You're still going to have to live with yourself and love yourself. And I accept me. Even though I had that feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. And I apologize. I apologize for judging you for the words that I used. There you go. Now my street is clean. Dimensional legend. So what we do here is you either ask a question, which means that there's something that you think I know that you don't, or that I might know that you don't, or you share a feeling. You don't come on here and tell everybody, measure your bicep and tell everybody how big your muscles are. You don't strut your stuff here. I don't know why you're here. If you know all about consciousness and meditation and you do Tai Chi, why do you need to tell us that if you have nothing to prove? I don't know why you're here. You just showed us how devalued you are, that you need to prove to us how spiritual you are. I don't know all about consciousness, and I'm the one teaching this seminar, and I don't know all about consciousness. In fact, the more I know, the less I know. So if you know more than me, I don't know why you're here. It's okay not to know. I give you the right not to know everything about consciousness. And I give you the right to not know all about meditation. I give you that right. And I give you the right to know something and be proud of it as well. All right. Anyway. What else? Afroman 316 question. Have you ever done celestial qigong in front of or around praying mantises? I mean like the actual bug praying mantises? I have not done that. Or have they appeared to you while you do the energy work? They have not. But that sounds like maybe, has that happened to you? That has not. To answer your question, neither of those things, to my knowledge, has happened to me. Dimensional Legend is going to continue. He knows everything about... See, I knew there was something in that. He knows everything about consciousness and meditation, and he does Tai Chi, but I'm not going to do meditation yet. I know meditation, what it can do. It's all about golden life. Well, good for you, man. I don't know why you're here, because, like I said, I don't know why you're here. If you know everything, what are you doing here? Go off and be on the mountaintop and be perfect. This is for people who want to improve and want to achieve and want to learn, including myself. Maybe I'm not getting what you're saying, but if I'm being honest, it sounds like you're insecure and you somehow need to prove to everybody how much you know. And it doesn't have the effect you think it has. Nobody reads that and goes, wow. Again, you're getting value from outside of you. Nobody reads that and goes, that guy, how do you know that guy's a master? How do you know? Well, he said he was. He said he was a master of meditation and he knows everything there is to know. Wow. Nobody responds that way to it. Anyway. It's okay to just be a human being. I give you the right to do that. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. I'm feeling sad because I'm feeling self-doubt that I'll be able to fully recover from codependency. Despite a deep desire to change, I feel it's deeply embedded into my unconscious. Well, that's some truth. I appreciate your feelings and I relate to them. I've had those same feelings. And even though you didn't ask for my advice, just keep doing what you're doing. You will see some recovery, I guarantee you. Gragas, question. My parents are pressuring me to get a university degree. Well, that's their job. I have already failed a certain university course. Okay, there's a lot in there. Is this important? If not, what is important in my life? Well, Gragas, first off, there is nobody in the world whose job is to tell you what is important for you. So asking me, is getting a university degree important? Look, I love education. I'm a very educated guy. I spent 8 years in college. I have the equivalent of at least 2 master's degrees in multiple things. But those were things that I chose to study because they made me happy. So my suggestion is you should go to school and study and get a degree if the subject matter gives you happiness and gives you joy. Then by all means you should go do that. Based on what you've told me, and I don't know enough about you to know, but based on what you've told me, you failed a university course. And the only reason that a smart person like you would fail a university course is because you didn't want to do it. Right? Because if you wanted to do it, you would have passed. So you're obviously angry at your parents who are, I don't know them. Maybe they want what's best for you. Listen, my parents had a certain idea of how things were supposed to be, and the world doesn't work like that. My parents are both dead. Your parents, maybe they're my age, they have an idea of what things are supposed to be. And, you're your own person. So I'm assuming you're an adult. If you're 18 years or older, you're an adult, which means that you are required to make your own decisions in life and be self-sufficient. So my suggestion to you is think about what makes you happy. I've got a book. If you don't want to pay the $10 for the book, or because you're a university student living at home with your parents who are pressuring you, you can listen to me read it. It is called The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Go onto my channel. You'll see it in the playlists. Listen to me as I read it. If you do everything in that book, you can be successful. And it doesn't matter what you do. The thing that determines your success, your financial success, is going to be based on you doing what brings your soul joy. Your parents may reject you. Like your parents may, I don't know your parents, so I'm not saying that they will, but your parents might disown you. Your parents might just nag you for the rest of your life. That is the risk that everybody takes. There's only one reason that we're here, and that is to live the joy of our soul. If you truly know what your soul wants and you live it, you will benefit every conscious being in the universe, and you will benefit yourself. This has everything to do with what I was just talking about. If you go and get a degree simply because you want your parents to accept you, you will be devaluing yourself. Now, you will have to go and support yourself. If your parents say, well, I'm not giving you any more money, and they kick you out of the house, which they should. That's what they did when I was a kid, by the way. When I was a kid, most parents, by the time you were 18, you either were in college or had a job, but either way, you're not living with me anymore. Things are a lot different now. Kids live with their parents a lot longer, and I sound like an old man now. So, pull yourself up by your britches and say, well, I'm not going to go do what mom and dad want me to do. I'm going to go live my life, which means I'm going to have to go work my ass off and struggle and maybe have some jobs I don't want to have for a while until I create the life, career, and the business that I want. That's what I suggest that you do. But you're free to do whatever you want. Dimensional legend, here's what's going to happen here. I suggest that you go onto your channel and you teach. You are a frustrated teacher. Frustrated teachers are teachers who don't feel like they deserve to teach, so instead they go around giving unsolicited advice. They go around telling people who and what they are and all that. You need to be on your channel making videos every day, telling people about all the things that you know about. Meditation, Tai Chi, all the stuff that you're masters of. You're giving people life advice. This is my channel. People come to me, so I give them life advice. They're not coming to you. So if you want people to come to you and look for your advice, you should be giving it out on your channel. So what you and I are going to do right now, since we're not going to do this anymore, is we're not going to, me and you, we're not going to do this anymore on my channel. Okay, is that it? Are those all the questions? I think those are all the questions that we have. All right, so people said that they were interested in a meditation, so let's do an interdimensional meditation. I'm going to do the same one that I did yesterday, which is we together are going to use higher dimensional energy to destroy the grip that the deep state has on the collective consciousness. We are going to destroy the devaluating mindset that is on the world. And what we're going to do is, you're going to follow me, I'm going to talk you through it, but I'll tell you about it before we do it. What we're going to do is we are going to astrally leave our body, and that simply is you just imagine yourself leaving your body from your heart center. You're going to imagine your astral body climbing up through the Earth's atmosphere, and when we leave Earth's atmosphere, we are no longer in 3D space-time. There was something I said earlier, I can't remember what it was, but I told you, I said, remember this, and I repeated myself. It had everything to do with that. Is that when you do, oh no, I know what it is now. When you do interdimensional meditation, you actually leave 3D reality, which means you are no longer as influenced by the mindset of devaluation. So what will happen if we leave our body, if we leave 3D astrally? You will be able to receive all kinds of extremely powerful, positive experiences, feelings, and information, because there won't be that armor of devaluation between you and the universe anymore. Now, when you come back, you may have to struggle with what you saw, but very often you will experience it as like a dream, and you won't have any judgment about it. You will feel, very powerful, very spiritual. You might feel like a god. You might feel like, who knows what. And you won't have any judgment about it until you come back. And then you'll talk yourself out of it. So I want you to get used to doing interdimensional meditation, because it's a way to be able to be free of that devaluating mindset. All right. So we're going to leave our body, we're going to go up, we're going to leave 3D, and then we're going to go to the sun, and we're going to go into the sun, and we're going to allow the sun to fill us with her powerful energy. The sun is feminine at the center of the sun is feminine. The external part of the sun is masculine. The internal of the sun is feminine, which is why the Germanic tribes called her a goddess, Sunna, the goddess. So when we're in the midst of Sunna, we are then going to send solar love directly to planet Earth. And we are going to use highly concentrated laser beams of love to break the fingers of the collective deep state hold. All right. Let's just go ahead and do that very quickly. I'm sort of losing it here, so let's go. Very quickly, I'm going to answer this guy's question. Solar Sorcerer, what do I think of NoFap? Go onto my channel and search that. I've made a bunch of videos about it. Bottom line is, just be a human being. Don't waste your time with it. All right, let's meditate. So, get yourself in a comfortable position, sitting in a chair or lying down, whatever works for you. And we're going to inhale 9 times. Ready? Inhale. And exhale. Second one, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 4 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. And release. Okay, we're going to do just a few Hool breaths here. Get in the Hool breath posture if you're sitting, and inhale. Inhale energy through the top of your head. Exhale the Hool breath into the earth. Inhale through the bottom of your feet. Exhale at the top of your head with the Huar breath. Do that one more time. Inhale. Inhale, we'll do the Huar breath. Exhale at the top. Okay. Now breathe long and deep. If you're a man, put your hands right over left over the navel. If you're a woman, left over right over the navel. Breathe long and deep. Imagine your focus is to experience what people call non-duality, which is another way of saying being valued simply because you exist. Now allow your energy body to come out your heart center. Your 3D body is still fully aware. You can still hear and feel everything going on in 3D, but your energy body is going to leave your physical body. You come out your heart center, turn around, look at your body. If you're floating above your body, if you're lying down, or just you're backing away, if you're sitting, you're looking at your body. As you back away from it, you're floating further and further up towards the ceiling or out towards the edge of the building. You let your energy body escape through the roof or out the side of the building. You look down, you see your home get smaller and smaller and smaller. You see the city that you live in. You see the continent that your city is on. You see the world turning into a globe as you get closer and closer to the edge of the atmosphere. You allow your body to leave Earth's atmosphere. You are now no longer in 3D space-time. You now no longer are being influenced by the devaluation programming. While you're floating in space looking at Earth, you send out the mental invitation for your higher dimensional guide to come and meet you. And your higher dimensional guide comes and meets you and gives you some kind of acknowledgement. You see them, you feel them. Maybe you don't see or feel anything. Don't worry, they're still there. You then ask your higher dimensional guide to empower you on this journey that we're going to take to destroy the power of the elites over Earth. Now, with your higher dimensional guide in tow, you're going to start flying towards the sun. You see the tremendously bright, warm, masculine rays of the sun as it's hitting you. You come closer and closer. We stop right before we get to the edge of the sun, and we ask politely for permission from Mother Sun to go into her interior. She says yes, invites us in. We go through a little doorway she makes for us, and we fly through all the way into the center of the sun. And as we get into the center of the sun, it becomes extremely bright. There's a vortex of bright light spinning around. We just allow ourselves to be in this position, and we allow our bodies to become balls of light. Perhaps you become a crystalline entity. And we now absorb into our heart center all of this energy coming directly from Mother Sun. We can feel our hearts and our souls being charged with bliss and love and consciousness. And now we go into that bright vortex. We're now in the center of that bright vortex. And we feel in this emptiness of the vortex, we feel total, complete bliss. This is the heart of the sun. She is filled with bliss and love. She has nothing but love for all conscious beings in the universe. She shines out this bliss and this love in all directions to all conscious beings. We now ask for her help. We want to take our bliss and her bliss and merge it together, and we want to focus it towards Earth, to bathe it in unconditional love, to destroy the grip of devaluation. She responds yes. We turn towards Earth. Even though we're in the middle of the sun, we can still see Earth very clearly. And we begin to just allow this energy to shine from our heart directly at Earth. And you can imagine those 5 fingers grasping Earth. And we take this intense laser beam of love, and it starts to one by one break the fingers of that hand. First finger, which is religion. Second finger, which is the banks. The third finger, which is government. The fourth finger, which is big pharma. And the fifth finger, the strongest one, the thumb, is the media, information. And with love, we have destroyed devaluation. And now that the earth is free from that devaluating grip, love goes into the entire earth. It swarms around the entire earth. We can see people being filled with love. We can see people being filled with bliss. We can see people who have been devalued and damaged, who have become destructive. We see them breaking down and allowing themselves to cry, allowing themselves to feel. They let go of their armor. It's challenging and painful, but their soul is igniting, and they are beginning to see themselves as spiritual beings that no longer have to earn their love or be destructive to gain love. This energy goes deep into the heart of Mother Earth. She is grateful to you. All of the plants, all of the animals, all of the fish in the oceans and the rivers, the clouds, the rocks, everything is bathed in this love. And just by doing this, we make ourselves ready to know when this love hits us. And we just stay with this for just a little while longer, letting the love energy shine out from our hearts and from the sun directly at Earth. And now we allow ourselves to relax and once again just become a ball of light, shining energy, just experiencing ourselves and just allowing our essence to shine in all directions. We are in the bosom of our mother, the sun, and we thank her for her unconditional love. We thank her for her nourishment. And with her permission now, we ask to leave. And she, of course, grants that. We begin to fly out to the edge of the sun, and we pop out the edge of the sun. And we can feel now the warmth of the masculine rays as they shine in all directions. And we feel the support of the masculine aspect of the sun. We begin to fly back to Earth. Perhaps your guide has something he or she wants to say to you. If you heard or felt something, expand yourself to receive that. Thank your guide for giving that to you. We now have arrived outside Earth's atmosphere, and we know that we're about to enter back into 3D space-time, but we're going to bring a new timeline with us. We have created a new timeline just by this exercise. And when we go into Earth's atmosphere, Earth's 3D timeline will shift. And we will begin to see changes in ourselves and in everything around us. Once again, we look to our higher dimensional guide. We thank them. We ask if there's any last minute suggestions or instructions or messages. We thank them. We send our love to them. And of course, we're never apart from them, but for this exercise, we're going to leave them as we fly back down through Earth's atmosphere. And now we're back into 3D space-time, and the space-time that we are now in begins to shift into another timeline. We feel it. We can feel everything shifting as we move towards our country, our state, our city, our neighborhood, and there's our home. We now fly through the wall or through the roof, and we see our 3D body there, a little more relaxed than when we left it. We appreciate our bodies. Before we go into it, just look at your body and appreciate the work that your body is doing and all the 5 elements and the organs. This is your vehicle. You chose this vehicle so that you could have an amazing experience in 3D. So thank your body for giving you this opportunity. Allow yourself to very gently go back into your heart center, and now you're in your body again. Inhale very deeply. Exhale. Inhale one more time. Exhale. Inhale one last time, filling all the cells of your body with the light of the sun. And exhale. Rub your hands together. Massage your eyes, your face, your ears, your scalp, back of your neck, front of your neck, shoulder, arms, chest, back, legs. Okay, as always, if you have a pen and a piece of paper, write down what was said to you, if there was anything specific that came to you. And yeah, that's it. I don't know about you, but I had a pretty cool experience. And again, once again, the point of all this is that if you feel angry towards what the psychopathic rulers of this world are doing, what I want you to do, if you can, is to see that they've been devalued so badly that it has warped them into the monsters that they are. They're in a tremendous amount of pain. And even if what you want is to get revenge on them, if you want to see them suffer, then what you're going to do is you are going to send the most intense, blissful, unconditional love you can imagine into them. That will knock them flat on their ass, because then they will be filled with all of the negative feelings that are fighting the love, and they will be miserable. They may end up in the hospital. They may end up in the emergency room. They may end up, not making it. So if you want to simultaneously give them the healing love that all conscious beings, including the psychopaths, deserve, and yet you want to get off on feeling like you're giving them the what for, give them as much concentrated, blissful, unconditional love as you can imagine, because it'll knock them flat on their ass. And they won't be able to do anything. So when I'm talking about breaking their fingers, it means getting rid of their control. And it really is like that for them, because they're so devalued, they think the only way that they can feel any kind of good feeling is if they control, manipulate, abuse others. That's how damaged they are. And so when the love hits them, it's just their entire identity is that armor. When that armor falls away, it'll feel like it's killing them. And so it's a win-win for you, because you're healing a damaged conscious being, and you can enjoy them, being miserable. So, bottom line is, we can't hate anybody. You can have those feelings if you want, but we can't act consciously and destructively. We have to drop the victim mentality. We have to drop the us versus them. And just know that whenever you judge somebody else, it's your own projection of yourself. Whenever you see something in other people that you want to judge, it's something in you that you can't tolerate. So when you think of name them, the billionaire narcissist psychopaths, and you're filled with anger and judgment and hatred, know that that's a feeling you have about you. That's it. And by giving them unconditional love and enjoying the pain that they'll go through, you will be allowing yourself to operate from your highest essence, and you're not letting them win. They only win if you buy into it. Because the truth is, they're only controlling this world because we let them. Whenever you're angry, whenever you become a victim, whenever you buy into indulging in the conspiracy theories, and there are conspiracies, but if you indulge in how they're doing it to us, you're in the 3D and they win. If you want to beat them every time, go to the sun, get filled with love, and send the earth love. Every time you connect to a higher dimensional state, every single time you do that, they lose their grip a little bit more. So if we can get everybody to do this interdimensional revolution, which is just this is probably the most important thing we can do. They will lose all of their power, and we won't have to rebel politically, militarily, religiously, philosophically. We won't have to bitch and complain. This is how we do it. This is how we take them down. All right, that's it. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for showing up, and I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to thunderwizard.com, the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, and of course the new book is out. Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth. It should be an Audible book coming up pretty soon. That's it, my friends. I wish you all the best. I love you. If I've done or said anything that was hurtful or offensive in any way, know that my intention is loving. Sometimes I'm giving you tough love, and sometimes I'm just screwing up because I'm human. Either way, I hope you understand that I am willing to do whatever it takes to be helpful to you, even if that means you like me or you don't like me. That's it, guys. Wish you all the best. See you next time. Extraterrestrials are coming to Earth. Why are they here? What do they want from you? New book available now on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth by Michael William Denny. You've heard all the stories about ETs, aliens, and interdimensional beings of light, but you don't know if any of the stories are true. What if you could talk with an ET yourself and find out? You can. I communicate with ETs every day. What these beings of light have shown me about the true nature of reality has freed me from the bondage of 3D. You are much more powerful than you realize, and everything is about to change.